Rest in peace, Jerry Springer.
Yo, what the?
Rest in peace.
You are now listening to The Dime with Josh Rodriguez, your weekly go-to podcast for all things NBA. And now, your host, Josh Rodriguez.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to The Dime, presented by the Ballislife Podcast Network. The Knicks have made it to the second round. They will be playing the Miami Heat in a retro 90s matchup, which I'm really excited about. The Lakers and Grizzlies are still going on. The Kings and Warriors are still going on. The Celtics have advanced to play the 76ers, and the Suns travel to Denver to play the Nuggets. All that we will be talking about in this episode. If you want to follow Dime, you can on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at The Dime NBA. I'm Josh Rodriguez at Josh_Rodriguez_. That is Kwab at Kwab, a.k.a. Yes. Shout out Jerry Springer. He lived a very fruitful and interesting life.
Interesting life.
Interesting for sure. I mean, he
show.
He made a life out of exploiting people and finding outrageous things and basically platforming it, which is basically my NBA Twitter segment.
Did you just? I can't believe. Yes, you really tweeted that out. NBA Twitter, you are undefeated.
What a transition. What a transition, people.
Yes, let's hit the talk show of all apps, which is NBA Twitter. I just made that up. Let's hit up NBA Twitter. Let's get our Jerry Springer on. I take 3 tweets that I saw on my timeline, that Kwab saw on his timeline, and Kwab and I, we're going to discuss them, debate them, all that good stuff. I don't know what we'll do, but we're definitely going to talk about them for sure. Kwab, are you ready to do the damn thing?
Let's do it.
All right. First tweet comes from at Howard_WBZ, and he says the Lakers have to win Game 6 at home or they will lose the series. I kind of agree with Howard here. You know, I had the Grizzlies in 6, so of course I kind of have to agree with Howard. Now, Ja went down in Game 1. I'm not sure if that game ends the same way it ends in Game 1. If Ja was around, they could have won Game 4. This series, it is 3-2, so it's as close as a series can be after 5 games, but I think it's actually a lot closer to being 3-2 in Memphis's favor than people actually realize. I think a lot of people are high on the Lakers, so much so to the point where they're not really willing to acknowledge the fact that, hey, the Grizzlies could just as easily be up 3-2 and the Lakers aren't dominating the series in the way that a lot of people think they are. What do you think, Kwab?
I could see it going both ways. Like, I could see the Lakers losing the next game, but still winning in Game 7.
Winning Game 7 in Memphis?
Yeah, winning Game 7 in Memphis because Memphis has Dylan Brooks. So that's I'm not.
How am I surprised every time, bro?
Hit you with the Hezzy.
Exactly with the crossover every time.
The Dylan Brooks Hezzy crossover. Nah, watching the Lakers, they couldn't stop Ja. Even Ja would basically playing with one hand, but it was how well Desmond Bane played in terms of his shooting.
He's been the best player on the court for the past like game and a half, I think you can say. Because even in Los Angeles, they lost that game, but I think you can argue that he's been the best player on the floor for maybe a game and a half.
Yeah, so I think it comes down to can the Lakers slow Desmond Bane down? Okay. And also, can Darvin Ham figure out his rotations? Some of the rotations he has are so confusing. I don't get it. I know there's Lakers Twitter has been going crazy about it, like in terms of like how many minutes he plays Rui, even though Rui has been having a good series. So I can see them losing the next game and still winning in 7. Like I said, I just have a bigger belief in the Lakers than I do in Memphis. But regarding the tweet, if the Lakers don't win the next game, it becomes more pressure on them. I still want to have faith in LeBron over Dylan Brooks.
Dylan Brooks. Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, I'm a little worried in the sense where the Lakers have played well. I mean, in Game 1, it was more Rui and Austin Reeves that kind of took him over the top, and LeBron kind of chilled. LeBron had a really good Game 4, a very effective Game 4. He's not shooting the ball well at all, and what worries me about the Lakers is if LeBron's not really shooting the ball well, AD has like these hit or miss offensive games. He's been great defensively for the most part, but if he's having like an off game offensively, LeBron's not hitting his J. I'm not really comfortable with the Lakers relying on Austin Reeves or D'Angelo Russell. I mean, D'Angelo Russell had a horrible Game 4, except for like a minute and a half stretch where he hit 3 straight threes. And to me, that's the D'Angelo Russell experience. I've always said that I didn't like the trade for D'Angelo Russell because I feel like he's gonna have a lapse where there's gonna be just some type of boneheaded play or decision or group of decisions that will cost the Lakers not only just a game, but a series. It might not cost them this series against Memphis, but as they go along and play better teams, I have a feeling it's gonna be that way. Their half court offense to me needs a lot of work. The Grizzlies are a good defensive team. I do think the Lakers might be a little better at this point, but if they can steal game 6 in Los Angeles, you go back home, you're one of the best home teams in the league, and you have the momentum. It's very hard for me to pick against the Grizzlies in that situation. Now, I can see the Lakers losing winning that game for sure. I mean, you got LeBron James, you have AD, you have the talent to do so. But the way this Laker team is built, their personality is also, like, very complacent, and, this actually might go to your point. They play their best when they're challenged or their back's against the wall. When they have a lead, let up a little bit. So maybe that's what they need. Maybe they do need a game 7, but I wouldn't put past the Lakers to lose a game 6. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of shortcomings with this Laker team, and I think if the Grizzlies had their ish together in the sense where, like, Ja wasn't hurt, the whole Dylan Brooks situation wasn't going on, and maybe they had, like, a Steven Adams in there, I really do think this series would be ending in 6 in the Grizzlies' favor, but that's not the case.
I can agree with that. If they were healthy and there
Yeah.
was less distraction surrounding that team, I feel like if it was just mostly just basketball, I'll probably favor the Grizzlies over the Lakers. But again, and I've said this to multiple people, in a series where both teams have legit superstars on each
Yeah.
side, like stars, big stars on each side. Dylan Brooks was a topic of conversation
Mm.
for which is
The first
crazy.
4
And
games. Yeah.
the first 4 games, and he's not on the Grizzlies starting lineup. He's not in the hierarchy. He's probably number
Yeah.
4 or 5 or whatever it is. So, all jokes aside, I'm not gonna make any more Dylan Brooks jokes, but yeah, I just when I look at both teams, I tend to just have more confidence on Lakers. Everybody that was in the 2019 Nets team has let me down this playoffs.
Well, Karras played well. Karras had a good I know they lost to the Knicks, but Karras LeVert had a really good game, 2.
Game.
Um,
We'll
he had a
we'll
good
we'll
3rd
we'll
quarter.
we'll
He had a
we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that when we get on the Knicks. We'll talk
he
about that
had a
when we
good
get on the
3rd
Knicks.
quarter in game 3. But okay, Jared Allen, that's who you should be disappointed in.
Everybody that was on the 2019 Nets team has let me down. Jared Allen let me down. I mean, no, screw that. Everybody that was a former Net, probably in the playoffs, has let me down. Brooke Lopez, you let me down. Spencer Dinwiddie, he got back on the Nets, let me down. D'Lo, playing hella inconsistent, let me down. I think with the Lakers, to go back to the Lakers, we keep talking about how multiple people have said LeBron has had a bad game, like, and he hasn't shot well, and his age is showing, and I'm like, yeah, he's old as heck, like, and he's having to put up like a lot of usage minutes. They got to figure out how to just play better defensively because you're better when you're just in transition, running up and down the floor, getting easy buckets, and they're playing fast. Apart from that, they like they struggle in the half court, which is also surprises me because you have AD, you have LeBron. There
Right.
should be like an easier way out, but I think a lot of it has to do with coaching, your schemes. It has to do with also and your rotations. Like some of the rotations
Yeah.
I don't understand. I just don't get it. I don't get it with Darvin Ham, but we'll see as this progresses.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Lakers have actually been playing good defense, especially rim protection, man. There are times where it seems like you can't if you're in the
You can't
paint,
get a
you're not
bucket.
scoring. Yeah,
Yeah.
like you can't, like AD has been incredible as a shot blocker. Even LeBron has been there. Just in general, just as a team protecting the rim, the Lakers have done a phenomenal job. But Memphis has made a point to actually run more, which is what you just said on the flip side with the Lakers. But Memphis is actually the team that's doing that now. They made their comeback in game 4 when they were just going out and running. Like that's how they've been successful, like not slowing the game down. I think that's what they have to do. They have to be able to get stops and then on those stops to get the ball in Ja's hands and go. Don't let the Lakers set their defense because once the Lakers are set and they're able to protect that rim, it's gonna be harder to score. And then Desmond Bane's been in rhythm, you know. And we joke a lot about Dylan Brooks, and there's a lot to joke about, but he's a professional NBA basketball player who is streaky. Like he said
Very
earlier, it's
streaky.
like there's a game I might hit 4 games and change the game, and people are laughing at it, but it's like, no, he's capable of doing that. Like he is. He's capable of doing that. So before we move on to the next tweet, who do you got game 6?
I want to say Lakers because I feel like they should come out with the right mindset to start the game off. When, like you mentioned before, them being complacent throughout the game, like they only seem to play hard when you're down by like 15 or 20, then they cut back in the lead, then they end up being back down. It's like it's not the right way to play. If you start off the right way, it makes it easier. Game 3, they started off the right way and they were not able to cruise, but essentially cruise to the end of the game. So I have the Lakers winning that game.
Yeah, I mean, I picked the Grizzlies in 6, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I think the Lakers do win game 6 as well. I think it's one of those games though where Memphis goes up early, where it's
Oh,
like,
okay.
oh, Memphis is up 7 at halftime. What's going on here? And then the Lakers kind of turn it on in the end, and they pull it out, win by like 4 or 5 points. But yeah, I know it's going against my pick, but that's what my brain is telling me now at this point in the series because I do think they are in trouble if they lose game 6. I I don't know. It's hard for me to picture Memphis going on the road and beating them right now. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to the next tweet. It comes from at H Rockets Center, optimistic Rockets fan, which is interesting. Go Rockets, I guess. He says, Cleveland gone, Milwaukee gone. Sixers will have to face the winner of New York Knicks, Miami in the conference finals, beat Boston, and Philly has a very high possibility of going to the finals. No shit, Sherlock.
That's kind of how it works.
Yeah, you're only one round away.
Look at them odds.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to be a jerk. The winner of the Celtics Sixers series is going to be the favorite. It just is what it is.
Do you think that the Sixers can beat the Celtics?
Can? Yeah. Will? No.
Okay.
I just think they're a team. Like for instance, as a Knicks fan, there's a team. The team I didn't want to see was Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I it just match up terribly for some reason. They have our number harder for. Just can't get over the hump with them for some reason. I feel that way when it comes to the Sixers and the Celtics. I just feel like Boston has their number. I think they match up well against them. Embiid, he has his moments against Boston, but he seems to kind of struggle a little more against Boston. Harden, I don't really trust. If you told me Harden would have a good series, I'd believe you, but I'm not really banking on it.
Yeah.
It just seems like that matchup has always favored Boston, so I'm going to favor Boston going into this series. Now, if the Sixers won, would it surprise me? No, I wouldn't say it surprised me, but I don't see them beating the Celtics. But to H Rocket Center, to his point, yeah, I mean, if they beat the Celtics, they have a very high possibility going to finals because they're playing the Knicks and the Heat, which are two teams that they were better than in the regular season for sure.
I don't know if the Sixers can beat the Celtics. I'm open to being very wrong because some people have said I'm a Sixers hater or a Philadelphia hater. I don't know where that came from. I'm just North Philly. What up? I look at just recapping like the Sixers Hawks matchup, and we did kind of gloss over them because we expected the Celtics to beat the Hawks, but
Right.
we mentioned about how much wing depth like the Hawks have in terms of like wing players and guards and whatnot, and you could tell through the course of this series when the Hawks finally found their stride, they were able to attack the Celtics in different areas.
Right.
Apart from Harden and Maxey, who are gonna see Marcus Smart and Derek White in terms of like defensive matchups. Where else are the Sixers gonna get offense like off the dribble?
Yeah, diversity in offense.
Yeah, diversity in offense. Exactly. Like apart from that, where are they gonna get that from? And then defensively wise, like PJ Tucker is probably going to see one of Tatum or Brown, and Tobias Harris is probably going to see the other one. I don't know if that's going to go well for the Sixers.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to go well for the Sixers too. And Boston, what they do is they just want to shoot threes all day. So like you have to rotate, you have to be able to get out on shooters, which I think the Sixers can do, but you have to be able to stop the point of attack, right? Like you can't have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum getting into the paint. You can't have Derek White and Malcolm Brogdon getting into the paint and Marcus Smart getting into the paint. So that's going to be really important because Joel Embiid is for as good as he is defensively. That's not the Celtics game. The Celtics aren't going to try to ram it down your throat at the rim.
Sure.
And I'm not saying it's going to make Embiid useless or irrelevant on the defensive end. He's a very good defensive player, but his strengths aren't going to be used in this series, because the Celtics are going to be bombing away from three. And, Jason Tatum, he has a mid-range. Jaylen Brown has a mid-range. They can pull up. They don't have to get to the rim. They really don't have to. Actually, at times, it seems like Tatum prefers the mid-range than going to the rim.
True, very true.
So for me, I think they're going to have a harder time guarding the Celtics. And then on the other end, what you were saying, yeah, like the diversity in scoring the basketball. And this is something I wanted to get into with the Knicks, but it's like, you need a couple players who can break down a defense and create a shot for their own or create a shot for others. Or, it's kind of like, Tobias, you stay there. And then if you're open, shoot. PJ, stay in the corner and do absolutely nothing. They get Embiid on the elbow all the time and have him work from there. But for the most part, it's like the Sixers can only really score the basketball in 3-ish four ways, pick and roll.
The point,
Maxey doing his thing.
one point I'm gonna
Harden.
make is going back real quick to the Sixers Nets series. One of the biggest mistakes the Nets did was when they would double Joel Embiid and Joel would kick it out. They would always over rotate to PJ Tucker, and I'd be screaming at my TV like, he's not going to shoot it.
Or let him shoot.
Oh, let him shoot. He does, like, he's not gonna shoot it. Or when he does, he's been inconsistent the whole year. Like, or let him shoot, like you said. So I think that's something the Celtics will probably like pay close attention to. Also, when you're talking about the Celtics want to bomb away from three, they're gonna end up, depending on what matchups they put on the floor, if they have Al Horford out there, he's going to be spaced out to the 3-point line.
Right.
So if that's gonna try to keep Joel out the paint on top of that. So it's gonna be a tough series for the Sixers. And the biggest question mark we have is Joel healthy?
Right.
Joel healthy? Like, we don't know if he's healthy. Like, the best thing that happened was the Hawks series, the series against the Hawks lasting longer than everybody thought. So it gave him a little bit of more time. But we don't know if Joel's healthy to play.
Girl, I'm falling for you like Joel Embiid falls on the floor of the basketball court.
Yo.
Yeah, girl. That's how much I'm falling for you.
Man does tumble work during the course of a game.
He does. I'm very impressed with whoever his gymnastic coach is. I need to have his or her number because Joel knows how to fall. That's one thing he knows how to do. He knows how to score the basketball, but he also knows how to fall correctly.
It serves a purpose. It serves a purpose apparently to prevent injury. But after a while, I'm like, bro, you didn't need to fall on that one.
He's always falling. He's like a newborn child.
Dog, you didn't need to fall.
He's like a newborn trying to learn how to walk.
It's and I hate it because going earlier in the year when we did a show, we talked about why not the Sixers. One of my main points was like, Joel always comes up with a weird freak injury. I don't want this. I don't want Joel injured in the playoffs. I just want him to have a run in the playoffs where he's healthy so we can see what he can do. Like, completely healthy, where you can see what he can do. Just so, like, as much as he's put in this year, possibly the MVP of the league, I want to see him be able to have a clean playoffs, and it feels like it never happens with him.
It's sad because he got hurt again, and I don't even know how to predict the series, but I'll ask you right now. We have the Celtics Sixers. This is the first series we're talking about in the semifinals. Who you taking and how many?
The logical me would take Boston in 6. The Boston hater in me, Sixers in 2. Like,
okay.
Sixers in 1, 2. It doesn't matter.
Right. It don't matter. I'm taking the Celtics in 7. I actually think the series goes 7.
7,
and a lot of it has to do with the fact that I don't trust the Celtics to be at their best every game. I mean, we just saw what the Atlanta Hawks almost just pushed in the 7. They had trouble closing out games in the second half of the season to the point where a lot of people were like, yo, the Celtics might be fugazi. I actually said that on the podcast. Like, hey, something wrong with the Celtics. So I do think they're the better team. I do think they win the series, but I think it takes 7. I think they have to go to Boston and win in game 7 at home. All right, let's move on to the third and final tweet. It comes from Sweep the Leg 337. And he says, Jimmy Butler is the best player in the NBA. Debate your mom. Now, I was actually going to call my mom and debate her.
Like, we're laughing, but if you're listening, he's being dead serious. He was actually going to call his.
I told Kwab that, listen, I got a tweet that says debate my mom. So I'm going to have to call my mom and debate her about Jimmy Butler being the best player in the NBA. But it is 2:00 in the morning her time. Not going to fly with Addie. I don't want to scare her to death. I don't want her thinking someone died. And I'm on the phone like, listen, Mom, Jimmy Butler's not the best player in the NBA. What are you thinking? What are you thinking, Addie? What are you thinking? You stop this.
Stop this. I don't know if Jimmy Butler is the best player in the NBA. Playoff Jimmy buckets, though. That guy is different. That guy might be the best player in the world
that I've ever seen in my life.
That I've ever seen. There's a calendar out there that shows like throughout the course of a season, the season starts, and you see like it's like, man, the Heat are struggling. I don't know. I don't get why this team does this. Then it hits the All-Star break. After All-Star break, it's like, yo, Jimmy Butler's could be an MVP candidate. Get him some help. And then playoffs start. It's like, yo, Michael Jordan is back. And he's been here the whole time. I don't think many people had the Bucks losing in this fashion. Yes, Giannis went down early on, but people still expected maybe the series to go longer.
I did. Even when Giannis coming back.
To lose what 4-1?
Embarrassing.
And multiple games where the Bucks were up late in the game. The Bucks were up late in the last game, and Jimmy Butler was yelling at Drew Holiday, telling him that I own you, while the Heat were down.
That's like to yell at Drew Holiday is like
while your team they were still down, the Heat was still down, and he looks at him, he's like, I own you.
Yeah, that's not like yelling at Jeff Teagues in the Minnesota Timberwolves practice. You're yelling at probably the best defensive guard in the league.
Exactly.
I own you.
I own you. Like, that's crazy. Playoff Jimmy Butler is he might be the greatest player in the world.
So he's not.
Who's better?
And I was debating. I will debate Addie right here, right now. But she's too coward to pick up her phone because it's 2:00 in the morning in Florida, and she don't want to debate me about Jimmy Butler. Coward mom.
Don't call your mom a coward. That's wild.
You're right. That's messed up. I love my. Hold on. Disclaimer. I really love my mom. I have a really great relationship with my mom.
Yes. Big facts.
She's a great woman. I love her to death. No, seriously. I need people to know that.
Big facts.
She's a coward though.
Yeah.
So listen, Steph Curry, Jokic, Embiid, like off the top of my head, those three right there. You're not better than two-time MVP.
What has Jokic done in the playoffs that Jimmy Butler hasn't?
Yeah, but like it's a team thing, Kwab. Bro.
I know. I'm just being a jackass right now.
If you're gonna give me a choice between playoff Jimmy Butler and Jokic, like what we see, I'm still taking Jokic.
It's just look, everybody's really, we're all hyped up on.
It's a prisoner of the moment thing.
Yeah, I was about to say that's a prisoner of the moment.
To that phrase in a little bit because I got a bone to pick with NBA with some of these polls that I'm seeing. I think it's a prisoner moment thing. Listen, Jimmy Butler has been fantastic. He was the best player in the first round, hands down, period. If they gave out a first round MVP award, Jimmy Butler gets the MVP.
I'm scared. I'm trying to think who else.
Does that continue? No, it's not even close. It's not even close. It's Jimmy Butler. It's not even close.
Hands down.
Does that continue? Maybe. I don't know if it does. And we've seen Jimmy Butler have some fantastic games, but it's not like, he's Michael Jordan. Every time he's in the playoffs, he wins a championship, or he's never won a championship. He's had some bad games too. Like it's not like he's been fantastic every single game. So I like Jimmy. He's been fantastic, but let's pump the brakes here. He's not better than Steph, not better than Jokic. He's not better than Embiid. He's not better than Tatum. I'm sorry. He's not there. He's top 15 player in the league. Sure. He's not those guys. He's not. Okay. All right, Kwab. We got some more takes to hit, but this is going to be in the vein of pole dancing.
You know you want it. It's time to go pole dancing. Get your mind out the gutter. We're talking about Twitter polls. My goodness.
Yes, hit the music. It's time to hit the polls. I put up 3 polls on the Dime's Twitter account, @TheDimeNBA, and our followers and stray Twitter users have responded to these polls. Kwab, are you ready to see the results that have disappointed me so much?
Disappointed you so much.
God, so disappointed in Twitter.
You ready? Let's see. Yeah, let's see.
Right, that's not the first time I said that sentence, too. Here we go. Poll number 1. Who you got? Knicks or Heat?
They got the Heat at 59%. Let's go. Heat culture, baby. Hey,
are you kidding me?
Real quick, yo. Shout out Femi. Shout out our homie Femi. He texted me early in the morning to talk about we didn't give the Heat.
Too, bro.
Yeah, we didn't give the Heat any. We didn't talk about the Heat because it's the last episode. We didn't give the Heat any props. He's a big Heat fan for a while. Like, so my bad. Our bad, Femi. Our bad. We're gonna get on it right now.
Okay.
But Knicks Heat. Josh might be a little biased when it comes to this topic. a
I'm
little
very
biased,
objective when it comes to
but he's
evaluating the
also
Knicks. You know
but
that.
he's also very objective. He called the first round perfectly. He's been saying it. He's been telling me for weeks and even months. He's like, yeah, the Knicks can easily beat the Cavs, no hesitation. And we all saw it. We all saw it happen. I was let down by my former Nets. Jared Allen talking about the light was too bright. Well, I don't know. Turn down the settings on your phone, brother. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Turn it down, bro. The light was, bro. I don't have. God. My boy sent me something. He was like, "Yeah, he just wants to go quit and build computers." I'm like, "Yo, well, we're not gonna."
Wow.
Yeah, it's wild. But talking about Knicks Heat, yeah, a lot of people feel like the Heat, looking at what the Heat did, like you said, prisoner of the moment, feel like the Heat can beat the Knicks in the Knicks series against the Cavs. The one thing the Knicks did were like, Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, you're not gonna beat us. That third guy you have on the wing, you're gonna have to beat us. And they were just selling out, and it was like Isaac Okoro. They tried it. The Cavs tried everything. Isaac Okoro, Danny Green, Seti Osman, Karis LeVert, like you said before, probably played the best. But it showed a team that had a game plan, stuck to their principles, and ran the team off the court throughout the series. It was very well executed by Tibbs, well executed by the Knicks. Do you think the Knicks can beat the Heat after you saw playoff Jimmy Butler going off against the Bucks?
Absolutely. Listen, first of all, the way the Heat shot the ball in the first round, the Heat were in the bottom 3 of field goal percentage, 3-point percentage. Like, that's what they were. They were one of the worst shooting teams in the league. They were one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the league. And then in the first round, they were the best shooting team in the league, and they're the best 3-point shooting team in the league. That, my friends, is called an anomaly. That's
Wait,
that's what that is. Now, they got
they
hot. Go
I
ahead.
was gonna say real quick, sorry to cut you off. You're right. They were one of the worst shooting teams, all of a sudden became one of the best. I don't know what happened with Duncan Robinson. All of a sudden I guess he found his shot back, and they pulled him from the gutter, and he was knocking down shots. Yeah, but go ahead, proceed. I'll make my point later.
I just think, listen, for me, the Heat, listen, Jimmy can go off. That's not what scares me. There's no one else on the Heat that scares me. When I look at the role players compared and the diversity of shot, we're talking about diversity of shots, but the different ways the Knicks can score the basketball, as opposed to the different ways the Heat can score the basketball. The Heat don't scare me in the half court. They don't. Jimmy Butler can go off. I'm not saying he can't, and he probably will win them one game in Miami by himself. I'm not saying there isn't going to be a game where Jimmy goes off, but Josh Hart is a plus defender. Quentin Grimes, if he's healthy, is a plus defender. You got Mitchell Robinson at the rim. I understand that the Bucks play some pretty good defense too, and they have rim protectors themselves, but they don't have the perimeter defense. It's a different type. I shouldn't say they don't have the perimeter defense because they have Drew Holiday, but it's a different type of perimeter defense where Quentin Grimes is bigger, as is Josh Hart. They have people you can bring off the bench. Emmanuel Quickly is no joke. I'm not saying he needs to be matched up on Jimmy, but they're just deeper to me than the Bucks are defensively. Also, they have different ways of scoring the basketball now. Jalen can go ISO. Julius can go ISO. They can run when Obi's out there. Grimes can hit the 3. Hart can hit the 3. Quickly can hit the 3. Quickly can run the offense. Pick and rolls with different players. They run pick and rolls with their guards. They're a harder team to guard than the Bucks. The Bucks, literally, all you have to do is like, all right, Chris Middleton's going ISO here. Let's try to stop Middleton. Force Grayson now and shoot the 3. Giannis, let's build a wall. Like, it's not even not that the Bucks are easy to guard, but they're way less complicated than the Knicks. I think the Heat are gonna have a harder time guarding the Knicks than they did guarding the Bucks. And honestly, in most cases, they didn't even do a good job guarding the Bucks. The Bucks had complete control of Game 5. They're up by 16 or 18 points, I forget. And in Game 4, same thing. They had a double-digit lead. They blew 2 huge leads. So to me, what that tells me is that, hey, the Bucks were in control for like 85, 90% of the game. They were the better team. The Heat just had this Michael Jordan clone for like a quarter, and they pulled shit out of their ass. This Heat team is not a good team. I'm sorry. They lost in Atlanta. They lost to Atlanta in the play-in. There, this isn't this the fact that people think that they're gonna win 4 games against the Knicks blows my mind. It really does. And I'm telling you right now, I'm picking the Knicks in 6, and that's me being generous because my head really thinks it's the Knicks in 5. And if it's not gonna be 5, probably 4, but I'm gonna say 6 out of respect to Jimmy Butler and the fact that Julius Randle's hobbling right now. The
Okay.
Heat are the Knicks. They're not. And if Jimmy Butler doesn't go super sane, they're not winning more than 1 game. I'm sorry,
Okay.
they're
So
not.
I'm gonna ask you like some quick questions. I just want a yes or no about who scares you on the Heat. So I'm
Are
gonna
you a
say a
lawyer?
player. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Okay. So does Jimmy Butler scare you? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Does Gabe Vincent, the Nigerian Steph Curry, does he scare you?
No, but I think he's underrated.
Does Kyle Lowry,
No.
the
No.
the thickest point guard in the league, does he scare you?
Nope. No.
Okay. Bam.
No.
The corpse of Kevin Love, does he scare you? Like,
Not really. No.
okay. Okay. So you wouldn't be surprised if it goes. I'm not gonna name some of the other players. So you wouldn't be surprised if it goes like if it's Knicks in 4. Like you would be like, yeah, saw it coming.
Mildly shocked.
Mildly shocked. Yeah, you put up the mildly shocked. Okay.
Mildly surprised.
Mildly
I'm
surprised.
expecting Knicks in 6. Not surprised if it's 5. Honestly, not surprised if it's 7 either, because like I said, Julius is hobbled.
Oh
You
yeah,
know?
he is. Yeah, Julius is
Yeah.
hobbled. Yes. Yeah.
I'd be absolutely floored if it's Heat in 4. I'd be incredibly shocked if it's Heat in 5.
Who
If
has
the Heat
home
win,
court? Who has home court advantage?
the Knicks. The Knicks.
The Knicks have home court?
Yes.
Oh,
And
yeah,
honestly,
yeah.
they have double home court because if you go to Miami, 80% of the fans there are Knicks fans when they play the Knicks.
It's not about the fans when you go to Miami. That's the
That's
point I
true.
was gonna make. It's not about
You're
just
right.
you're gonna catch
You're
the
right.
South Beach. You're gonna get the South Beach flu.
All right, Bob. Well, I want to hear what you're thinking, because I'm biased, apparently, Femi.
I say, man,
Oh,
look.
hold on. You shouted out Femi. Femi. I gotta give a shout out to Femi, and first I gotta apologize to Femi and all Heat fans. They do deserve an apology because I was very dismissive of the fact that they could win the series to the point where we didn't even analyze the series, and
Facts.
they won the series. So shout out to the Heat. I deserve egg on my face. I understand that. My bad. Femi, bro, I love you to death. Text me or DM me. Choose one. I can't have the same conversation with you, bro. Yo, I'm having the same conversation, bro. I'm like, yeah. It's the same. It's not two separate conversations. You know, sometimes you have two separate conversations. Like on Instagram,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, funny meme. We're having a conversation about the funny meme, but then like, you know, the
Like,
text conversation, like, yeah, remember that one like girl from college? Like you're having two separate conversations.
sometimes you be at work. You don't have access to the phone, so you gotta
Right.
do it through
I mean,
social media.
literally gave me the same text that he had in the DM, and then my dumbass, instead of responding like in just one of them, I responded to both. So, yeah, I love Femi, bro.
Shout out
I
Femi.
miss
Yeah,
Femi.
that's the brother.
Shout
That's the
out Femi
bro,
'cause me and
man.
Femi had some crazy chemistry with the pick and roll. Love
That's
Femi.
Femi's a beast, bro. I love him. Yeah, going back, let's just not staying with the Heat Knicks. Logically, I would say the Knicks should win this series, right? So
Mhm.
just because Knicks have been the better team, just for a longer stretch, how well they have played before the playoffs, and how well Jalen Brunson has played throughout the course of the year. I'm interested to see how Game 1 goes because one of the main reasons why the Knicks easily beat the Cavs was how well Mitchell Robinson was playing defensively, rebounding, and he just the Cavs just didn't look tough. The Cavs
The
big
Heat don't
men.
have big men. Bam Adebayo is their biggest guy. But sorry, go ahead. That's another thing. But go ahead.
Yeah, that's exactly. He is.
Yeah.
That's whether he's your biggest guy, but he's a different big.
Yeah, he's skilled. You're right. You're right.
He's a different big. So I want to see what that looks like. I know the Knicks aren't really worried about the Cody Zeller minutes. But yeah, you're shaking, right? I know you're shook. Yeah,
Max Strus scares me a little bit. You didn't mention him. Because if
the
he
Paul
gets
legend
hot,
Max Strus.
if he gets hot, Duncan Robinson scares me a little bit. I mean, he's food on the defensive end, but if Duncan Robinson's giving you like 3 or 4 threes a game and Strus is doing the same, that changes the math a little bit. That changes the team a little bit. That's what concerns me about this. If you're gonna say, Josh, the Heat beat the Knicks in this series, what happened? I'm not gonna say, oh, Jimmy went crazy. I'll say, yeah, Jimmy had a great series, but I think Strus and Duncan Robinson both had good series from the 3-point line. That's what I would.
Yeah, that's a couple of players that you worry about just like going off and rattling off like maybe like 9 points here and there.
Gabe Vincent can do that.
Gabe Vincent can do that too.
Yeah.
The thing I'm struggling with, like, if the games are close, right, you're gonna have basically the matchups between what was just like Jimmy Butler trying to be clutch or Jalen Brunson trying to be clutch, and both players have excelled. Jalen Brunson throughout the course of the year, Jimmy Butler throughout the playoffs. So I think it should be a fun series. Please, people that are comparing this to like the past, like Knicks, stop doing that. I hate that. I hated all those series. It would be like I did. I'm not a Knicks fan.
How dare you?
How dare it would be the third quarter, scores 45-57, and there's been like 5 fights. They're in the crowd punching each other, and people like, yes, this is real basketball. No, it's not. No, it's not. I hate all that. Hoop. Let's hoop.
And the Knicks take game 1, 72-69.
69. Allen Houston, the top scorer with 22 points. Like, let's cut it out. Like, I'm not
with 11.
Tim Hardaway with a strong 15-5. Like, let's cut that out. But yeah, I've been betting against the Knicks, and it's been going well for you. So I'm gonna say the Heat win, just so.
All right,
So
we're gonna end the show.
We're gonna.
I'm
I
so
said
sick of you.
it's been going well. If you want me to say the Knicks,
you're doing this for me. Is that what you're saying? You're doing this for me?
For you. I'm doing it
All
for
right.
you. And if I end up being right, I'm just like, oh look, I was right.
All right, I trust you.
I think I'm gonna say logically, I'm gonna say Knicks in. I want to say Knicks in 6.
Okay, that's what I have. Knicks in 6. I'm saying Knicks in 6 to be safe because the Knicks, no one's perfect. I think the Heat. I honestly think both teams went on each other's home court. I actually do think the Heat get one of the first 2 games.
I just got the visual of like one of the last Knicks Heat games during the course of the season was when Julius Randle hit that tough 3-pointer, right? And that game was close.
It wasn't close. Most of the game, the Knicks were up by double digits. The Heat came back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just like the playoffs with the Heat. All right.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the next tweet. Let's move on to the next. I see the
poll.
Twitter tweet.
Yeah.
The next poll that is on Twitter, and it says, "Who you got? Suns or Nuggets?" Now I thought this would be closer, but 69.7, basically 70% said the Suns over the Nuggets, which came in at 30%. That kind of surprised me because I think a lot of people were watching the Suns in their series against the Clippers, and a lot of people were kind of taken back, like, oh, their depth is a problem. Oh, yeah. They're sticking KD in the corner like he's PJ Tucker, not passing him the basketball in the fourth quarter.
That's crazy.
I'll be honest with you, Kwab. I am very torn with this one to the point where I don't even know if I'm comfortable making a pick right now. The Dime listeners might have to follow the Twitter and Instagram pages for when the asset comes out.
They should follow it anyway. First of all,
yeah, I'm torn, man, because I don't know how good the Nuggets are. I know it sounds silly.
Are we at the point where we're severely still underrating the Nuggets?
I think we might be there, but I was always someone who was on this podcast like, everybody's underrating the Nuggets. Nobody's talking about the Nuggets. Why is no one talking about the Nuggets? I don't understand why nobody's talking about the Nuggets. Nuggets losing 5. Like that's been like. I was really hard on the Nuggets that one year when McCollum in Game 7 basically sent them home. I thought the Nuggets were going to the finals and we're going to challenge the Warriors. But yeah, that's how long I've been on the Nuggets for. This year, I've kind of taken a step back because it's like, all right, I don't know if I can trust y'all. But I'll be honest with you, man, my heart's saying the Suns because I picked them to go to the finals before the playoffs started. But after watching the series against the Clippers and watching the Nuggets and the T-Wolves, I know they're 2 different types of teams and whatnot. I think I'm going to go Nuggets in 7.
Okay. I don't it's hard for me to call. Like you said, I need to see a lot of times we're trying to make an educated guess and it doesn't go according to plan because games have to be played. I think I would have had a better viewpoint of the Suns moving forward if they played the Clippers, if the Clippers were healthy.
Yes, I agree. I don't even know if the Suns would have made it out though. That's the thing. Like you Paul George and Kawhi Leonard but that's another thing though. The Clippers with Kawhi and Paul George could win the West, if not the championship. So like that's not a thing to be ashamed of.
Yeah. So going into it, like you said, we had it was like, okay, this might be a great matchup because it's Kawhi, Paul George, and Russell Westbrook versus Chris Paul,
right?
KD, Devin Booker. Then it became the Suns versus Norman Powell, Terrence Mann, and Russ, and the games were all close.
For a
Well,
little bit.
for a
For
little
the
bit.
most part, yeah. Yeah.
It didn't because it never, to me, watching them, it never felt like you knew the Suns were gonna win, but it never felt like they killed them. If that
Yeah,
makes
I think
sense.
I know it does make sense, and I think a lot of people were expecting the Suns to kinda just, like, stomp all over them. Like, I had the Suns
Yeah.
in 5, and they won in 5,
Yeah.
but I think when you don't have Kawhi, when you don't have Paul George, people are gonna watch that game and be like, "How come you're losing this game at halftime? How come this
Exactly.
is a game in the 4th quarter? This shouldn't be a game. You shouldn't be struggling like this." Now, at the end of the day, they still won the game, so it's like and they've only lost once with
Only lost
KD
once. Only lost once.
from the
Only
regular
lost
season.
once.
Only one so it's like how do you weigh that? I'm having a hard time weighing that, and the Nuggets have been the best team all year in the West. They have good chemistry. I don't know, man. The only thing I can think of is, like, I don't know how they guard KD and Booker. Jamal Murray has to be special.
Nobody can really guard KD.
Yeah,
When it
I don't
comes
know,
down
man.
to it,
Like, now I
like.
wanna say the Suns in 6.
But then okay, then
Seriously,
I'll. Well, you say that right, but then you got the big man matchup of Aiden and
Jokic.
Joker. Who's favored in that, in your opinion?
Jokic.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I
then
don't know, man.
it's like watching the Nugget series against the Timberwolves. There was, I think even the game they lost against the Wolves, there was like a certain point I was like watching Michael Porter Jr. just shoot and make some of the most ridiculous shots I've
Yeah,
ever seen. I'm like, yo, what is what is this man's issue, bro? Like he was just
yeah.
and it was all so. And I was looking forward to that. I was trying to look ahead. I'm like, okay, that's gonna be who's gonna end up guarding him? Because are the Suns gonna go with Torrey Craig again?
Yeah, it's not even just who guards him individually, it's like, how do they rotate? How do they communicate? With the Nuggets, you really don't have to block the rim, but what you do have to be aware of is, like, action when Jokic has the ball, right? Because he's running handoffs, Gordon's going back door, they run a lot of high-low stuff, so can you guard that? Which I think they can. I don't think they have anybody to kinda guard Murray in the pick and roll, really, or isolation, they don't really do too much ISO. But I think Murray has the potential to have a huge series here just for the simple fact I don't really think they have anybody who can really stay in front of him, and I don't really trust the Suns' pick and roll defense to handle, like, a Murray Jokic pick and roll. I don't trust DeAndre Ayton on the outside when Jokic is up on the perimeter. I don't know. Would you try putting KD on them, which would be kinda silly? I don't know. It's interesting, but I just think that the Nuggets kinda give you a little more matchup problems. Aaron Gordon's a good defender. Jokic is okay, I guess. But Jokic can 8 and all it is just kinda guarding the pick and roll. So a lot of that is help defense, which I think Gordon's good at. I don't know, man. I'm trying to figure it out in my head. I'm leaning towards Nuggets and 7 though.
You're leaning towards
Yeah,
Nuggets. Yeah, it
yeah,
feels. I don't like if you said Nuggets and 7 or you said Suns and 7. I could understand it because I'm like
yeah,
as you're talking, I'm listening to you. I'm going over all the matchups. I'm like, yeah, this that, but then this, but then I'm like, okay, I, I got to see it. Like I
yeah.
got to see it. I
Yeah,
got to
I
see how
gotta
it
see
looks.
I have to see game 1. When I see
Yeah,
game 1, I'll be like, "Okay, this team's gonna win."
a
I'll
lot of
tell you
questions will be answered. A lot of
Yeah,
questions will be answered after game 1.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, are you comfortable making a pick, or you wanna hold off for a little bit? Tentatively, I'm saying Nuggets and 7, subject to change.
Okay, so I'll say Suns and 7, subject to change.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the final poll. Question number 3. Has your opinion on Giannis changed after losing the series? I'm very proud of this result.
90%.
90% said no, it's a team game. Only 9.5% said yes, can't be the best. Basically, he can't be the best player in the world because he lost the first round series to the Heat, in which he played 2.5 games out of the 5. He played half the series.
After series, coming
So
off injury.
here's my thing, man. I don't like the whole, well, you lost the series, therefore you suck, and like that knocks you down a peg. Well, if Giannis is really the best, if he then he has to win this series. It's like, no, you take someone's body of work over a season or career, whatever you're comparing, and that's what you go by. You don't go by like a 1, 2, 3, 4 game sample size. That's idiotic. That's not how data works. That's not how any conclusion works. Any logical conclusion works. You take a whole body of work. If you thought Giannis was the best player going into this series, You should still think Giannis is the best player going into the series. They lost. It's a team game. It happens. He got hurt. Like, there's nothing that you could have saw that had been like, "Oh, wait, maybe he's not." I don't like, no, come on. It's Giannis. Like, and that's the thing. Like, the only way I think an opinion of another player can change is if, for instance, like if Jimmy Butler just continues his path for the whole playoffs and they end up winning the championship, then it's like, oh, he's like that. You know what I mean? But like players lose series not because of them, but because of like a team thing. I think it's just really silly when people like have these hierarchies and like based off whether or not your team wins in the playoffs, you move up or down. It's really silly. Like if you're moving up and down in someone's head, there has to be some type of dramatic difference. Like the reason why LeBron's not the best player in the world anymore is because he's 38 and he significantly dropped off. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if Giannis was the best player in the world to you before the series, he still should be. I'm sorry. Like it's a team game. He was hurt for half the series. I don't know if you feel the same way, but that's how I look at it.
NBA Twitter does not care about that type of logic. They only care about what
Yo,
they saw.
Bag Twitter won a championship when the Heat
Bag-
beat they won their championship, bro.
What?
The playoffs are over.
Talk about it. Like, oh man, he can't run and dunk. He's
Right.
dog, like I'll say from as a fan from a personal perspective, I watched KD go from when he played in the Bucks series when it was basically by himself and he was putting up like almost 50-point triple doubles and lost in that game 7 with his toe on the line. Go from they were talking about, oh man, he's the best player in the world, even though he lost. And I remember he went to go play in the Olympics right afterwards. They were talking about, oh man, he's the great best player in the world, to getting swept by the Celtics. And the discourse was like, oh man, he can't even, how is he the best player in the world? They got swept by, he stinks. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
people only care about the moment. And the only reason I bring up KD in that Bucks series was that if KD was able to will the Nets to a victory in that series, Coach Bud would have been fired. Been fired because he was doing some of the dumbest things I've ever seen during the course of the series. That man started out the series, the first game, and played a zone against a team that had all shooters. I was looking at my team like, what is he doing? What are you doing? Now, fast forward to this series where, I don't know, he had multiple timeouts to call.
Oh my God.
And he was like, nah, man, I'm just watching the game like y'all. What's happening? Let me chill back and see what's going on. There was even before the last game, the game before that, I forget who made the point, was like when the Heat were making that run, because they were down double figures before they made that run, and that was game 4. They made that run. Coach Bud could have called a timeout.
Yeah, he didn't call
a timeout. There's this whole thing about coaches like, yeah, they'll figure it out. And yeah, they figured it out and lost. You know who also does that, and it kind of bothers me too? I'm like, they gotta be careful. The Celtics coach Mazzulla. He also lets the team run, and I think he's gotten better during the playoffs. He did that during the regular season. He would just be like, I'll let them figure it out. Nah, man, call a timeout, run a play or something. Like there was 0.5 on the clock, and Coach Bud was like, nah, Jimmy Butler just had a tip in. We're going over. Like, dog, call a timeout. You have Giannis, you have Brook Lopez. You can call a timeout and run a lob play.
Right.
For 2 of the tallest players on the court.
Right.
I think, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are
no,
you
I'm with you.
What are you
it's
doing?
to the point where all my group chats were like, this is a fireable offense. Like, he has to go.
What are you doing?
No,
it's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. I was going back. I was like, yo, what is happening now? Apart from that,
to your point, to your point, like coaches' decisions, and there's so many things, so many variables outside of a player's hands that it's like, how could you take a loss and just completely blame it on that one player?
I've said this before, and I've had a discussion with other people where we're actually talking about LeBron and how they were discrediting how many times he's won in the playoffs and been in the finals. And the point I was making to them is like, dog, it's not easy to just make the finals. We've gotten to the point where like we got spoiled because it was always like the Warriors and Cavs. Dog, it's not a lot has to go right for you to win in the playoffs and for you to make the finals. Not even win a championship, just to
Right.
make the finals. A lot has to go right. We're talking about injuries, players playing the right way, coaches adjusting. A
Right.
lot has to go right for everything to fall in place. So with this series, the lot went wrong for the Bucks.
Right.
Giannis got hurt the first game. You don't know what's gonna happen. Like, no, I don't care what anybody says. Nobody had the Heat winning. Nobody had the Heat winning that series. I don't. People are like, there are people that's like, oh, I'm not shocked by this. Nobody had the Heat
Oh,
winning the
bullshit.
series.
Right. Even when
Nobody had
Giannis
the
went
Heat.
out, I didn't have the Heat winning the series. And to me, just to hit on your LeBron point, like, it always just it blows my mind. We're like, well, LeBron's record in the finals. It's like, dude, this motherfucker was like 23 years old in an NBA Finals against a dynasty Spurs team with Booby Gibson as his, like, second
That's
best
his best
offensive
player.
weapon.
Yeah,
Like,
like, come
the
on.
fact that that team even got to the finals is a miracle. Like, that should be praised. That shouldn't be something that goes against him. This dude, the first year with his return to the Cavs, Kevin Love gets hurt. Kyrie Irving gets hurt. Matthew Dellavedova was the second best player on the Cavs for the first half of that series. Timothy Mozgov was a starting center for that like, for you to
Like,
expect LeBron James to beat the Golden State Warriors, knowing what the Golden State Warriors are now, is like, it's asinine. It's taking all context out of a situation and just ragging on a guy because you don't like him. It's I can't have these conversations with people. That's why I stay away from, like, greatest of all time conversations, because people want to bring up, like, finals
same,
records, and it's like, bro, like,
same.
if you want to talk finals records, let's take these things into context then, because LeBron James was basically David versus Goliath against the Golden State Warriors and the San Antonio Spurs for two of those years. Like, and then KD had to join the Warriors. Like, come on, what are we doing here? Like,
And,
I
and
just think, go ahead.
no, I'm sorry. I was gonna say, going back to your the point you made about like Delly being the Matthew Dellavedova being the second best player in that series against the Warriors. J.R. Smith recently said like Delly almost died, and people forgot about that because he was like
Yeah,
strapped to an IV playing against the Warriors.
come on, man.
Something that people also don't forget was, I remember watching that series. There were writers and that were saying like, "Yo, could Delly win the MVP?" And I was like,
Right,
"Yo, what
yes.
are you?"
That was the thing.
That was the
That was the
thing.
thing.
Thank you.
Yep,
Somebody else remembers. Like,
that was the thing.
they was like, "Yo, can Delly win the?" I'm like, "Bro,
Yep.
he's putting up like 16 points, and he's like, he's dying right now, trying
Yeah,
to slow
and
down Steph."
all the media was talking about Dellavedova. Like, it was LeBron, of course, but like, the second thing was like, man, Dellavedova's having a hell of a series. Like, that's what it was.
That's what
But
it was.
to
Yeah.
end this conversation here, I'm happy that the NBA Twitter voted in the polls the way they did for that question. That gives me some faith in humanity. Before we go, Quab, the one series we haven't talked about, Kings Warriors, heading into Game 6 in Golden State. Do you think the Warriors wrap it up?
I had Warriors in 6, right? I think I had
Yeah, you
Warriors
did.
in
All
6.
right,
Yeah,
congratulations.
I had
Yeah.
Warriors in 6,
I,
baby.
I think I think they do. I picked the Kings in 7 because I thought the home team was going to win every single game. I don't think the Aaron Fox's finger had anything to do with the reason why the Kings lost. Just for the record, I'm not using that as an excuse. Game 5 was the first time in a really long time I saw the Warriors look like the Warriors.
Yes.
Haven't seen
Yes.
that in a long time,
Yes. Yeah.
and that was the first time I watched the Warriors. I was like, oh,
It looks scary,
oh,
right?
they can win the
Again,
championship.
we talk this is what we were talking
Yeah.
about during the course of the season. Every time we're like, yo, the Warriors need to figure out how to win on the road. What is wrong with the Warriors? And they're like, well, maybe win the playoffs, they will hit that switch. When the Warriors look like the Warriors, it's hard to bet against the Warriors in a
No, you're right,
7-game
man.
series. It's hard.
And the thing is, the games 1 and 2, they didn't really flick that switch. It seemed like they were gonna carry on their road woes from, the regular season, but something happened in game 5. I don't know what it was, but that switch was flipped, and now I'm like, "Oh, maybe they can win the championship." So, I think the Warriors win game 6. We'll break it down more next episode of The Dime. By the time we record again, all the second round matchups will be in place. So it will be a second round Eastern Conference, Western Conference semifinals edition of The Dime. If you want to follow Dime, you can on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at The Dime NBA. I'm Josh Rodriguez at Josh_Rodriguez_. Kwab is at Kwab, aka Yes. Rest in peace, Jerry. Rest in peace.
Heat culture.
Come on, bro.